Four divisions, four hosts, all battling it out for the Holy Grail of the American Hockey League, the Calder Cup. This is the Holy GrAHL podcast with Andrew Rinaldi, Deana Weinheimer, Jeremy Paul, Michael Liu, and Zack Power.
Well, hello and welcome to, wow, can you believe it already? Episode number 3 of Field Pass Hockey's AHL podcast, The Holy GrAHL. Well, here at The Holy GrAHL, for those of you who've been here before, you know that we are all about the American Hockey League and the yearly race to their Holy GrAHL, the Calder Cup. But for those of you who are new, we'll do a quick little round of meet your host here, just introduce ourselves. I guess I'll go ahead and start first. I'm down here on the bottom for those of you watching on YouTube. My name is Deana Weinheimer. I am the AHL editor and one of the 2 Cleveland Monsters beat reporters here at Field Pass Hockey.
Hey y'all, I'm Andrew Rinaldi. I cover the Chicago Wolves and Grand Rapids Griffins, so I'm the little Central Division expert, I would say, here at Field Pass Hockey. I'm starting off my second year and ready to get really into the meat of things here. Now we're in episode 3, ready to roll.
I have to say, I'm so much a creature of habit that when we didn't start in alphabetical order, I panicked only a little bit, and I was like, I don't know where I fit in. But what's up, everyone? My name is Jeremy Paul. I am in my first season with Field Pass Hockey, where I cover beat for the Rochester Americans. Also, some other little fun things here and there with the site. I am a Columbusite through and through. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and I have another podcast. Big into the podcast, scene, as you say, subjectively speaking, which is a Columbus Blue Jackets fan podcast. But I love coming here with you all to talk about all things AHL.
It's such a fun league, isn't it?
I love it.
I'm enjoying it. The more and more I immerse myself into it, I am enjoying it more and more.
Yeah, whenever I first started covering this league, I'm in my 3rd season now. Like, I didn't really pay attention to it until Columbus in Cleveland started with their affiliation, and then that 2016 team went on to win the Holy GrAHL, the Calder Cup. And then ever since then, I've been hooked. Like, I only partially paid attention to Springfield just because, like, okay, I'm a big Columbus fan. Oh, so I know that that's where the prospects are. But I never watched games. Now I watch all of them.
For me, it was like when they first included it in the NHL series, and it was like, you can draft guys and then put them in your minor league teams and play with them. And like, teenage me coming home from school and just spending hours on the games, I was just like, yeah, this is great. And then I realized for Detroit that, they're down there in Grand Rapids, it's just a couple hours away. I can't believe I've never been to a game at Van Andel, though. I'm like just beating myself up about it,
So we are going to go ahead and move on to breaking news, which is how we basically start every podcast. We do want to give a trigger warning. We are going to be discussing the Blackhawks news that came down earlier on Tuesday. So for those of you who do not wish to listen to this part of the show, so there's going to be we're not going to share like any explicit details or anything like that. It's just kind of an overview talk about it, but I will be putting a timestamp down in the show notes. So for those of you who choose not to listen to this section, you can go ahead and jump ahead to some much happier news. But earlier today, there has been an investigation going on that was commissioned by the Chicago Blackhawks regarding mishandling of allegations that an assistant coach sexually assaulted a player during the team's Stanley Cup run in 2010. As a result of that, Stan Bowman, now their former general manager and president of hockey operations, has resigned. The team has been fined $2 $2 million. And also Al McIsaac, which is one of the team's top hockey executive, is also out. And also Stan Bowman this news came down not that long ago, that he has also resigned as the U.S. Olympic men's hockey GM.
And we're just getting started with this. I mean, they as more and more information comes out, now you're looking at Joel Quenneville, who, along with Winnipeg general manager Kevin Cheveldayoff, was aware of everything that was going on. So the ripple effects that are just going to go throughout anyone who is involved with this in the league. Those are the two biggest names to show up so far, but you're looking at, what's going on anywhere else that these guys are employed. I mean, it just goes, whoever was complicit in this entire thing, they're going to come down hard, and it's not going to be pretty.
No, and frankly, like, it shouldn't be, right? And I think too, I think we've had these conversations in our AHL circles, really ever since conversations about the findings of this report, have begun. And it's that when we find ourselves in situations where it's possible that somebody, whether for this specific situation or any other situation, are in a spot where they feel they need to speak out but can't because they're a prospect, or can't because they're really working hard to, find their way onto an NHL roster. That's when I think I get the most, that's when my blood boils the most, and that's when I get the most frustrated, right? Because we talk about, in situations like this, we talk about power dynamics. And I think in a lot of ways, this is where the power dynamics of hockey really rear its head. And I think for us, like in the league that we cover and the league that we talk about, it's really important that this is an element of that power dynamic that we talk about, right? Because if we don't address that, then we don't address the larger issue of the culture. And that is that a lot of these players feel like they're in a place to prove themselves. And for some of them, that might mean that they don't feel comfortable or empowered to speak out when they need to about whatever. And that's something that we need to talk about. And that's something we need to change.
Absolutely. I think one of the hardest things is whenever you hear the report come out and it's saying that it's one of the Black Aces. So one of the prospects, that was playing for their minor league team that had been called up to kind of serve, just stay out on the wings just in case there's injuries or they need someone to go ahead and slot in, that it's one of those players. So I think that kind of hits people in our circles a little bit harder, because we know how young these guys are. We know how much getting a shot like that means to them, and to have that kind of held over their head is very, very difficult. But I just hope that tonight and moving forward, that John Doe can find can get whatever help he truly deserves, and he can start to find a little bit of peace and hopefully move on and have a very happy life going forward.
Yeah, for me, one of the saddest parts about the whole thing is that this is a locker room that you're supposed to have your brothers sitting there next to you to have your back, and it was just a complete organizational failure from the top down, all the way down to the bottom. And, for those young kids that are supposed to be coming through, it doesn't matter if you're a rookie or you're not. You should never, ever have to feel that you have to subject yourself to that kind of treatment for a roster spot. It truly just blows my mind. And I am 100% overwhelmed at just the support on social media for this person who I hope for as long as it takes, is forever, remains nameless. But the outpouring of support for them that at least they could get from, granted, numerous amounts of random strangers on the internet that they failed to get in the locker room and at the front office, because again, you just can't, there's just more and more layers that just unravel with this thing. And I'm sure there will be more later on this week and everything else with all the fallout. But it's just, for someone who's been in those locker rooms, that's supposed to be, the safest space you can possibly think of, and just let it down at such the gargantuan way just breaks my heart.
Well, for now, Kyle Davidson has been elevated to the interim GM for the Chicago Blackhawks organization. So unless you guys had anything else to say, I think we can go ahead and kind of wrap up that topic. But I will say that for those of you that are still here and are looking for any resources for any mental health issues that you may be facing, hearing this kind of news, or if you're going through a similar situation yourself, I'll put a couple of hotlines in the show notes too that you can reach out to try to get some help in those resources. So, but we're going to move on to much happier news that was announced by the American Hockey League today, and they have announced on Tuesday that we're recording this, that they have or they will be inducting 4 people into the American Hockey League Hall of Fame as the class of 2022. So honored by the AHL Hall of Fame Selection Committee as the 17th group of enshrinees are Keith Aucoin, Nolan Baumgartner, Dave Creighton, and Bill Torrey. They will actually be inducted, and they will also have an award ceremony on February 7th up in Laval, Quebec, as part of the 2022 AHL All-Star Classic. Joining them that weekend will be the lone member of the 2021 class, longtime AHL president and CEO David Andrews, who unfortunately, due to all of the COVID shutdowns, didn't get an enshrinement ceremony. So that will be a great storyline to watch as the festivities in Laval play out in February.
Yeah, got a couple of former Wolves there, and Keith Aucoin and Nolan Baumgartner. So, all the Chicago fans listening, you're well represented this year.
Yeah, I didn't realize how long that he had played in the American Hockey League, and I was looking it up as we were researching the show, and I was blown away. Like, it really hasn't been all that long since he stopped playing. Yeah,
he is just Keith was just one of those guys who. He can put up numbers everywhere in the American Hockey League, and just for whatever reason, whether it was the teams ahead of him or what, he just couldn't crack the roster above, and just stayed around that lasting power forever. I'm kind of with you there. It's just one of those names that just kept popping up. And I made reference before to the NHL game. There's a guy who's a free agent every single year, and you pick him up, put it on your minors, and just watch the points go up.
Well, look, he first skated for an AHL team back in 2001, 2002. That was my senior year of high school for the Lowell Lock Monsters. And then he last skated for the AHL with the Wolves back in 2013, 2014. Then he moved over to Swiss A and then played for Munich EHC over in Germany up until 2017, 2018. So that is a long and well-deserved honor for such a great career.
Then Dave Creighton, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, former Rochester American, but well before any of our days. 59, 60 years he played in Rochester. So to any folks who might be listening who are Rochester Americans fans, who are familiar with his game, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to have the conversation.
Yeah, Nolan Baumgartner was, again, another one of those, the former Chicago Wolves. My mind is on, obviously, I'm still going over, but he spent a lot of time with Manitoba, a little bit of time with the Philadelphia Phantoms, remember them, Portland Pirates, Norfolk Admirals. He was kind of around the league, but again, another well-deserved career there. So are you guys ready to go ahead? And now that we got that happy news out of the way, congratulations again to, I guess, all 5 of those gentlemen. I guess it's time to hop in our time machine and head back to the week that was.
Yeah, let's get it.
So first, let's take a stop with Charlotte. Max McCormick was a late signing, but how smart is that signing looking? In 4 games, he has gone 2, 3, and 5.
Yeah, this is a guy who spent 12 games with Carolina and would have been one of Chicago's best forwards if not for the necessity of the taxi squad last season. And so to see him kind of not get picked up and then Charlotte scoop him up, I'm not really surprised by this at all. And I highlighted him going into last season that this was going to be a key player. That was, of course, again, before the taxi squad was a thing. So, big piece of the checkers there. And, he's only getting started, and we're early on. I think he's going to be a big name going forward. I think we might see him in Laval in February.
Well, whenever I first started kind of putting these show notes together, I cannot talk today. My apologies. He was actually listed as 3, 2, and 5, but I guess one of those goals between then and now got reviewed and ended up being a tip-in or something.
Bounced off a shin pad, probably.
You hate to see
Speaking of bounced off of a shin pad, did any of you catch that Brett Gallant goal the other night?
I did not.
Yeah, I missed
the goal that won the shot. So
the one off the skate, I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you who weren't watching and don't know Brett Gallant, longtime Cleveland Monster, was along the boards and there was a defense or just someone from the other team coming in. So he goes to just kind of clear the puck or pass it, goes off the skate, and boom, right into the net.
They don't ask how, they ask how many.
That's the I totally meant to do that-iest goal of the year. But speaking on the Cleveland Monsters, I'm going to stay on them for just one quick second because we have to recognize Justin Scott. He is now their franchise leader for gameplay, for total games played. He actually eclipsed Cameron Gauntz, whose brother is a current Cleveland Monster, but he has played 265 games with the Monsters. Actually, that milestone game was actually played up in Toronto, and what's amazing about that is he was able to have 27 members of his family and close friends present to watch him skate in that game, and he had a big goal in the shootout to keep his team alive. Granted, it unfortunately was a loss in overtime, but he got a solo lap to start warm-ups. So congratulations, Justin. It's not that often that you get to see a player spend, I think he's been with the Monsters his entire pro career. You just don't see that anymore.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm a little disappointed that Zach's not on the podcast tonight to give you a little bit about that one because the two of you were killing me on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad that, I didn't get to rib him a little bit because, the Monsters were coming on. They were on the last leg of a 3-3 up in Canada, and that game still went to a shootout. Like, ooh, Toronto, what happened? But we're going to stay up in Canada here, and we're going to move over to British Columbia, which, again, I wish Zach was here or at least Michael, because Michael covers the Abbotsford Canucks for us. Mm-hmm. But they actually got their first home game under their belts. Justin Bailey with a great milestone. Not only did he get his 100th AHL goal, but he also got the first home goal for Abbotsford. Special mention to Pavel Dorofeyev, who gets the honor of the first away goal in their building. And then it ended up being a 3-2 win for the Canucks in overtime.
Got to say, that Canucks logo, the aesthetic is just so pleasing on them home unis. It's fresh. They got, new kid on the block and all that, but I got to say, freshest look in the league.
I will say I very much enjoyed watching that game. The whole vibe of the game and their intermission entertainment, I just really, really loved it. So, Andrew, I think you're going to kind of take center stage here on this one. But we need to discuss that ending of the Chicago and Milwaukee game on Friday.
Yeah, so the Wolves, they love to get your blood pressure going, and all game on Friday night, Chicago just looked every bit of that Calder Cup favorite that everyone had picked them for. Some hiccups in the home opener and all that, dropping that to Rockford, but they looked great on Friday night. They're up 3-0. They're coasting, and they still had chances going in the third period. This isn't a Wolves team that just sits back. They attack, and when they're up, they keep going for more. And then they start taking penalties, and Jalen Chatfield trips a guy. Now here it comes. Milwaukee's got the goalie pulled, so they got a 2-man advantage technically, and then Egor Afanaseyev just blasts a one-timer past Etum Makaniemi, making his North American debut, who also looked solid. But now we're clock's ticking down, tick, 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 and 11 seconds left, and Matt Tennyson rings one off the bar, and just like that, it's 3-2. And so now you're sitting here, and your chest is, the heart's beating, and you're going, okay, there's 11 seconds. It's not a lot of time, but it's enough. And Milwaukee gets the puck in the zone, and you're sitting, and it's on an Admiral stick, and you're just like, this can't happen, right? This isn't the Maple Leafs, it's the Wolves. And then luckily they do get the puck out, and that ends it there. But I mean, you just got to exhale on that one, because it was just a little too close for comfort. I mean, you think 11 seconds, not enough time, but you're just in the back of your head, the gears start turning. You just, all right. Chicago came out with a win, first win of the season. They responded the next night, and they no more that the late game dramatics. No, they made sure to close that one out real emphatically.
Yeah, I was just shocked that it even came to that, because I was watching the game up until then, and that penalty kill looked amazing. I mean, they were just, it was like clockwork. They were cycling well, they were limiting chances, and then all of a sudden, like you said, there's Afanaseyev, and I'll collapse after that.
Yeah, all you need is just that one, and then they got momentum going. They get the extra guy out there. And it's tough. It was I believe on the second goal, it was a Jack Drury failed clear that ended up going into the back of the net. And here's a young kid who's just a couple games into his North American career, just kind of trying to find his game in a system that demands quite a lot from Coach Warsofsky. And not saying it was a bad play or anything, but he's a rookie. Those are going to be the plays that you're going to get, and he's clearly showing something for a coach to put him out there in such a situation like that. Would you like to see a better clear? Yeah, but everything's all hindsight. If Makaniemi makes that save, you're not talking about what Drury did on the boards. So the important thing is at the end, despite a little bit of a heart attack, and gonna have to go get my blood pressure checked, but 2 points is 2 points. Like I said, they don't ask how, they ask how many.
You and everyone else in Milwaukee, I think. But in the spirit of almost having a comeback, we got to talk about a comeback that actually happened on Saturday night. The Springfield Thunderbirds. They actually had a 3-0 lead over the Bridgeport Islanders. I keep wanting to say Sound Tigers. It's Islanders. I will never get used to that. But Bridgeport gets 3 unanswered at home to send this one into overtime. And then the man of the hour, rookie Robin Salo, comes in, scores his first AHL goal with only 50 seconds left in OT. But what kind of struck me was the obvious frustration on the Springfield goaltender, Charlie Lindgren. He just, after that goal went in, he immediately stood back up and was just slamming his stick in the crease. Like, oh, not a good look. not a good look. But congratulations again to Robin Salo. I mean, what a way to start off your AHL career and have that be your first goal.
Kid's making a name for himself early. You gotta love it.
And one more thing to revisit for the week, Hartford and Lehigh Valley. I don't know if you guys caught this one on Saturday. So let me just go ahead and kind of set the scene for you here. So Anthony Bitetto for Hartford, he gets sent to the box after it was a very unfortunate and very horrible hit on Brendan Saulnier. Basically, after Saulnier got hit by Bitetto, he fell right back and slammed the back of his head off of the ice. It was not good to watch. They actually ended up showing his family on AHL TV, which is always very difficult to watch. I'm not quite sure who made that call, but that's neither here nor there. But he serves the penalty. Hartford kills it. He gets out of the box, immediately scores an empty net goal. Well, then in comes Garrett Wilson, who immediately drops the gloves after, goal horn is going off, whole 9 yards, and he drops the gloves. He did have to serve an automatic 1-game suspension, but in total, Wilson got 2 for roughing, 2 for unsportsmanlike conduct, 5 for fighting, a 10-minute misconduct, and a game misconduct.
Damn, he was just 1 minute short of just full fingers and toes there, almost 20 minutes in one play.
Is there a 1-minute penalty?
Well, we've been making amends since the first episode, so we can add another one to the rule book there.
Hold on, yeah, let me change my hot take real quick. What would we even say a 1-minute penalty would be? Maybe this is not the place to ask the question, but I'm just now I'm curious. What would you call a 1-minute penalty on in hockey if you could create a penalty? What would it be?
An oops. I mean, it couldn't be a somewhat minor. It'd just be a I don't know.
Just a tad minor,
A baby minor.
Well, I would like a 1-minute penalty for going back to last week. If you have the puck in the offensive zone and 3-on-3 hockey and you carry it into the neutral zone, automatic 1-minute penalty.
1 minute 4-on-3.
Yeah, you should.
Tough.
You should be punished for saying, I don't like this, so I'm gonna skate over here and just eliminate all offensive opportunity for my team. It's not perfect. It's just slightly good. There's 6 guys on the ice. Find some open ice, man. Come on.
Were you watching that Cleveland-Toronto overtime? Because that was the entire thing. Those guys were so tired, and all they did was kept cycling back out to neutral ice. I was sitting here just do something. This is agonizing.
Yeah.
I will say that I would change a 2-minute penalty to a 1-minute penalty, and that is any delay of game penalty, whether that be too many men on the ice or throwing the puck over the glass. That could be interesting.
What about whatever that was that Matthew Tkachuk did that gave him a penalty?
Yeah, that feels like it could be a minute, right?
Because that was done in the spirit of helping somebody, helping the fans.
Was it?
Right.
Yeah. You're talking about the one where the puck was going up over the glass and he raised his stick up.
It. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, refs would be like, okay, 2 minutes for playing the puck from the bench, but 1 minute because, hey, that was actually a really impressive display of hand-eye coordination.
So we give you a credit of 1 minute for good behavior.
Exactly. No.
I'm all for making every single penalty in the NHL subjective, actually. Or in the AHL, excuse me. Just make it subjective. That wasn't too much of a trip. Give him 87 seconds.
Right, yeah.
It wasn't fully intentional. This is his first infraction. It's, game 23. He hasn't been, penalized at all this season. Instead of 2 minutes, we'll give you 53 seconds.
people are going to end up getting like a 12-minute minor for cross-checking by the end of the year.
Yeah.
What about you, Cody McLeod?
Uh-oh. All right. So, Jeremy, did you get your hot take updated?
I did actually. I am gonna take the penalty minute train when we get to my hot take. So
Okay. Well, that means it's that time again for swipe left or swipe right. So, for those of you who are new, or for those of you that need a refresher, this is our hot take portion of the show, where the rest of us get to vote on whether or not we like it, or we don't, or if we really, really like it. So that's our super swipes. So with this one, we normally go in alphabetical order. I'm not going to mess that up again. Let's just go ahead and go with Andrew.
I'm a creature of habit.
Yeah, well, that's what I get for having a first name with an A. Always leading the pack. So it's early in the season, obviously, but as of right now, this is October 26th. Your division leaders are Springfield, Utica, Iowa, and Ontario. But hot starts don't necessarily equal hot finishes. And of my hottest take, there was going to be all new teams on the top of these divisions by season's end. I think all four, you're going to be seeing just all different teams up there at the top.
I'm still not. I'm a little gun shy on my super swipe, but you definitely get a swipe right. There's a couple of these teams I'm looking at. I'm like, this is not sustainable for them at all. Yeah, I completely agree. Swipe right, easy for me.
I don't know that I can commit. I think I'm like in a non-committal moment right now. Because like we're looking at four teams, right? And I think obviously like you can make arguments that a couple of them, to Deana's point, are probably not going to find themselves there at the end of the year. But I think out of the four, like I think the likelihood of seeing at least one of those teams remain at the top is probably pretty high. And so I'm going to swipe left. For my added bonus points, I'm going to say that if I had to pick any team that was going to stick around, I would probably say it's Ontario. That's my.
I was actually thinking the same thing as I was looking over the standings, but I don't know. I guess I just have a soft spot for Abbotsford and their pleasing aesthetic that what would please me more is seeing them at the top of the standings. So
fair.
That's my logic. Is not quite what the talent they're bringing to the table, but like how cool do you look while you're playing hockey? You look good, you feel good, you play good. So
there you go.
Hey, I hear you. I don't know. Maybe the Eagles will soar up in the Pacific Division.
They better figure themselves out pretty damn fast, though. Oh my gosh, what a. Mm-hmm. Well, Jeremy, for the record, I have written down that you are looking at Ontario to hold that position
as the one that stays. Okay, I hate that.
Yep.
Do you remember when I said non-committal?
Well, we could just circle back and see if I even remember, because in my note, I wrote it down in my notebook. There's going to be a lot of pages being filled in after that with notes. So if I even remember, just because I wrote it down doesn't mean I'm going to remember to look back at it.
All I have to say is if there's an Ontario Reign fan that decides to listen back like a handful of episodes and it's like the middle of January and the Reign are like toward the bottom of the Pacific, I'm sorry. That's my bad. I'll take ownership.
We'll call it the Jeremy Jinx.
Yeah. There you go, JJ. Yep, I like it. Maybe that has a lot to do with a lot of the things going on in life right now. It's just the Jeremy Jinx.
Oof.
Oof. For first oof of the episode, everyone.
Which we forgot to add that into the show is the oof of the week. Well, that is our oof of the week.
Yeah.
We'll officially get that in next week if we remember to update the show outline. But all right, I guess it's my turn. So my hot take. Okay, guys. So everyone knows I have a soft spot for Brett Gallant for Cleveland. He's seen by many as a super old school enforcer, but especially here in the last couple seasons, he has become more than that. I mean, yeah, sure, the other teams are going to notice when he's on the ice and maybe not take as many liberties, but he's still an integral part of that team. Basically, my hot take, not so hot take. I just wanted to bring him up that I adore the man, and there's still absolutely a place for these type of guys in the game.
Yeah, I think I talked about it in the first episode and just how the evolution of the game. And, I think you have guys that have a bit of an old school mentality, but the days of your enforcers playing 2 minutes and then sitting the rest of the game, that just doesn't exist anymore. You got to be able to skate. You got to be able to play. You can't be out there and be seen as a liability. Coaches just aren't gonna risk having you out there in any kind of situation whatsoever. So I'm gonna swipe right on this one because I'm with it. I've seen GrAHL play. I've seen him snipe a beauty of a wrister over I believe it was Connor Ingram's glove when I was in Cleveland last year, and heard the GrAHL chants raining down. And it was at that point I realized I think this guy is a little more than just a bruiser. He like I said, he's got that old school mentality where he's going to be out there and he's going to make sure that he's there and he's going to make you feel it. But he's not just one of the Bruise brothers. He's a legit player. That's the only reason. That's how you stay around in this league, is how to play the game.
I will qualify that with saying, if you do not watch the Cleveland Monsters, you need to catch a game of theirs and watch the line that has him, Justin Scott, and Carson Meyer on it. They're the fourth line, but they're not being used as a typical fourth line. That line generates chances, believe it or not. It's a true identity line. It's just a lot of fun to watch. And man, has Justin Scott come into his own this season being with those two guys. Anyway, I'll be quiet now.
No, you're fine. I agree with everything that you all are saying, right? Like, I think when you have somebody on the ice, it can have a little touch of that like old school enforcer to them, right? Like, it makes a player think twice about about how they're going to handle the situation. It obviously like makes your team stronger. Is a guy going to go into a place on the ice where they know that somebody like Brett Gallant is? Maybe not as quickly, right? While at the same time ensuring that a player like him is not a liability, right? And I think that that's the point that Andrew gets to. And I think that that's the most important part, is if it's some guy who's just out there throwing elbows, like, okay, like, I'll watch it. I'll watch it, don't get me wrong, but maybe not the best, right? But especially when you're talking about a league like the AHL and you've got a lot of young guys, more now than ever, having an older enforcer type player is always going to be important. And if I hadn't used my swipe right last week, or my super swipe, excuse me, I would use it this week because I'm just such a fan of this style of player, but I used it and I have integrity, so I am not going to try to use it again.
It's okay because didn't you use it on my pick last week?
Oh, we get each other. We do. We really do.
It's that Ohio connection.
It really is.
Okay, he gets it back next week anyway, so.
Fair.
True.
Yeah. Wait, hold on.
It's already November.
Wait, I didn't even think that. Yeah, okay. Well, my super swipe up went unused for the month. That's okay. That's
Damn.
okay.
No,
you just use it for Zach's non-existent hot take for this week. I'm sure it's a great one, but you can use it you can just tell him like, hey, great job on that.
Whatever the hot take is, I will super swipe up on it. I need to use it. I'm running down to my last seconds on the app. I don't want it to let it go to waste. I put in the effort. Let's just super swipe up on the non-existent take.
There you go. Well, I've got one for you, and it does go back to our conversation about penalty minutes. For those folks who are keeping track at home, Springfield is on pace for 1,307 penalty minutes this season. They're averaging about 17 a game as of this moment right now. And now I'm not going to go so far as to say that we're going to watch a team eclipse 1,300 penalty minutes this season. But realistically, I think we are. I mean, like, games have been dicey. Like, we've had a lot of these situations where you got players taking, as we just mentioned, 19 minutes worth of penalties in a game, like multiple times. Some of the Amerks games have seen it. I think we're gonna see like the most penalty minutes that we've seen in a really long time this season, coupled with I just think we're gonna see at least one team that averages at least 10 penalty minutes a game. Averages.
So for my personal reference, this was kind of like Iowa last year, where they just it was just a certified goon squad to a point where you had guys like Cody McLeod, Joseph Cramarosa, Damian Giroux, Mitch McLean, just giant, big, mean bodies. And Coach, I believe it's Coach Army, he just had no reservations about giving these guys big minutes and opportunities to go and maybe grab a teenager like Phil Tomasino and ragdoll him into the boards if necessary, which happened quite often, especially when you had a guy like Phil who enjoyed kind of chirping like a Tweety bird out there. So just to me, like that's the standard of when it comes to like rough and tough hockey, that just racking up the PIMs. Now, from my recollection, I believe Mitch McLean is now in Milwaukee, but you still got the rest of the rowdy bunch there. I can totally see this happening. I don't know if it's going to be like last year, though. I think after so long, some of these guys are going to tire out. You can't possibly do that for 70-some games. So I'm going to swipe left on this one, actually. I know I kind of played it up like I was going right, but I'm actually going left.
That was a shocker. I honestly thought you were going to go right on that.
Yeah, I know. I thought I was going to be too, and then I was like, I don't know.
He found a red flag in my profile.
Lots of red flags. Those are all over Twitter right now. But anyway, so I also decided, again, this was another match that I needed to stock a little bit ahead of time. So fun fact, in the top 5 penalty minutes, skaters with penalty minutes, nobody from Springfield is on that list.
How is that even possible?
You have Syracuse, 2 from Lehigh Valley, Iowa, and Cleveland.
So what I'm hearing is that everybody is interested in getting some PIMs over there in Springfield.
Yes.
Like everybody, you get a PIM. No, you get a PIM.
It's a group effort.
So the top 2 are Josh Wesley with 19 and Mackenzie McEachran with 16. But I don't know if it's going to be Springfield that does it, but I've seen some of the play of some of these teams. I think we're going to have a very high penalty minutes. So I guess it's a swipe. Just for fun, let's swipe right on it.
Thank you so much, because the way in which you both almost just did that to me, where it was like, oh my god, yeah, I really like you. We have a lot in common left. Like, when was that?
That's a long way of saying, I'll swipe enough that we can talk. We can chat. All right. Well, speaking of top point getters, top penalty getters, let's kind of go to the other side of the coin and look at the top skaters here. So we have a new player on top of the point getters on the leaderboard. And I'm going to butcher his name. So, Andrew, I'll kind of let you take over here because I'm horrible with names today.
So, yeah, we got Springfield's top defenseman, Scott Perunovich. He's got a goal and 8 assists in 5 games. And Deana and I in Traverse City got a first-row seat to kind of exactly his prowess, mainly on the power play, where he kind of just abused the Red Wings this guy's just got a knack for not just with his vision, but his ability to walk the line on the man advantage to kind of draw those penalty killers in, and then he snaps the pass across on the other point, and they got basically just a free lane to the net. He assisted on 2 straight power plays like that. And then once the penalty killers thought they like, okay, we know what this guy is doing as he's walking the line, he was able to turn his hips real quick, put him in a great firing position, and just snapped a beautiful shot for his 3rd power play point of the night. And from what I'm looking at here, all this is telling me is that the coaches in the Atlantic are just not watching the film on this guy, because he's doing the exact same thing that he did in Traverse City on September. So it's been real impressive. I'd love to see him keep it up. I mean, how wild would it be to see a defenseman at the top of the scoring here?
Well, not only that, but a defenseman that missed all of last season because of shoulder surgery.
Mm-hmm.
A defenseman that I think we all predicted would lead the league in scoring after the first couple of weekends now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anything else going on? Why not? Why not have a defenseman? We'll have a goalie up there next week.
Can't wait.
Who wants to take bets on which goalie that's going to be?
No.
I will go ahead and say Beck Warm's going to come up from the ECHL, and he'll start off with a 5-assist night on Wednesday.
I like it. I think Arundel's just mad to be here, so I think he'll just say screw it. I'm just gonna start playing forward.
Just because he has an awesome name and he's making his he just made his pro debut, got a win in his debut. Let's go with Jet Greaves.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite names for a goalie. As I've come to learn how to pronounce it, Eetu Makiniemi, as just like the way it rolls off the tongue is just so much fun.
So many good names in that. There's no shortage.
Well, so in second place, like I said, we had Scott Perunovich. He has 9 points. Alexander True out of Charlotte with 7, and then someone a little bit closer to Jeremy's heart in Rochester, we have Jack Quinn with 6.
Yeah, I mean he had a really impressive weekend. I mean, like obviously, I think a lot of guys want to have that first game back against Utica, but looking at the weekend, right, like he had a really great game. We'll talk a little bit later too about JJ Peterka, who's also playing well, who's also scoring as a rookie in the league, and I think that this is something that's going to make a lot of Amerks fans, and in turn, like a lot of 2022 Stanley Cup champion Buffalo Sabres fans feel a lot better. And that's that. Quinn has been a prospect that I think people have been like a little bit worried about, like not worried, but like he's had moments where he just doesn't feel like he's sticking as well as he should. He's looked a little rocky, and so for him to come out, play as well as he's played at the start of the year, really between like Jack Quinn, JJ Peterka, Brett Murray, Michael Murray. I mean, there are scorers on this team, and so I think you're going to see a lot of these rookies in Rochester get their fair share of points.
Well, I guess I should say Jack Quinn is in a 6-way tie for third.
No, he's third.
Well, when you look at games played, yes.
But to your point, yes. Yeah, definitely a lot of really great. And, another rookie, Deana, Tyler Angle, up on the list too, tied for third.
Yes, which I still have issues wrapping my brain around the fact that he is technically a rookie, considering he played all last season.
Right.
But I do have to give special shout out to number 8 officially on the list, but still with 6 points, TJ Tynan, who's out in Ontario. Just one of those players that have found longevity, and he's just a player I always enjoyed. So Yeah, another great start to the season for him. But moving over to the top goal scorers, a few same names over here. Alexander True is in the top spot with 4 goals on the season. Jack Quinn again also has 4, but he is officially in second place. Or you know what? All of these goal scorers have 4 goals.
Okay.
The top 10 all have 4 goals. So you got True, Quinn, Nick Sweeney, Laurent Dauphin, Matthew Pekka, Chris Terry, Pavel Dorofeyev, Jimmy Huntington, Brett Seney, and okay, I'm going to butcher that name.
No, you've got it.
Mikey Asimont? Asimont? I know.
Azamont sounds good.
He is from Manitoba, but yeah, they all have 4 goals. For the rookies, again, Scott Perunovich is leading that race for the rookie point getters with 9. Jack Quinn in at 6. Tyler Engel also has 6. Then you have Nick Sweeney coming in with 5. And then to round up the top 5, Jacob Pelletier out of Stockton with 5 goals. Jack Quinn, again, number 1. Nick Sweeney out of Iowa. Nikita Alexandrov coming in from Springfield with 3, as well as Ben McCartney out of Tucson and Alexander Holtz with Utica. And I had to add a special section in for our goaltenders. We are starting to rack up the shutouts here already in this young season. We have a goalie with 2 already, believe it or not, out of Tucson.
Which is just like so funny.
Right? Like out of all of these teams I'm looking and I'm like, okay, like Cleveland, yeah, I get it. Jean-Francois Berube, I totally get that. Abbotsford, I get it. Manitoba, I get it. But Tucson, maybe there's a reason that he is listed as inactive right now, so I'm assuming he got called up.
Yeah, Carter Hutton got hurt, and so I'm pretty sure that.
Yeah. So he's pretty much the guy in Arizona now.
So it's Ivan
It's going to come out.
Prosvetov. I'm having issues with my T's and my V's and some letters today.
They're putting them in weird spots for you. It's all good.
I have a stuttering issue. Sometimes I get hung up on certain letters and I just own it and move on. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and talk about our quest for the Holy Grail. I'm going to go ahead and claim the Atlantic Division here. And then I'll let Jeremy kind of take over the North and Andrew can talk about our lovely Central Division. But there has been a huge shakeup in the Atlantic Division. Right now, your top 3 are the Springfield Thunderbirds, the Hershey Bears, and the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Now, last week, the Providence Bruins were actually in 3rd place, but they plummeted to 7th, going from a 1-0-0-1 record to 1-2-1-1. That just gives you an idea of how quickly things can change here this early in the season.
Yeah, and then, Cleveland, similarly, how quickly things can change up from 6th to 2nd, kind of going back to that, that you referenced, Deana, the 3 games, 3 days situation. They take 5 out of 6 points and obviously good on them. The Americans also, rallying a little bit. They win both of their games this last weekend after, like I said, a little bit of a rough start against Utica there in the first weekend of the season. The crunch fall down a little bit, but like we talked about, that's something that I think isn't entirely surprising based on our conversation about the injuries that they've acquired over the course of or accrued, I should say, over the course of the last week or so. And so that's a team that, obviously, right, no team's in panic mode necessarily, except for maybe the Colorado Eagles. But obviously something to pay attention to. Are they going to get healthy soon? All signs would point to maybe. But again, like Toronto with the key injury to Nick Robertson, sits, at 500. And so not too bad. Not too much wildness going on in the North right now.
Well, speaking of wild, sitting over here in
hey
the
there.
Central Division. Yeah, you like that segue?
Perfect. Nice setup.
I've gotcha.
Top of the Central is the Iowa Wild, and it's a bit of surprise considering last season they were kind of a bit of a punching bag for the Central Division, but here they are with Matt Boldy sitting out with an injury to start off the season. I didn't think a lot of people pegged them to be up here, but they're proving them all wrong, and they're not just doing it with their fists this time. They're scoring some goals and playing some stingy defense and doing it. So kudos to the Iowa Wild up there. Then you got the Chicago Wolves sitting there number 2 after that shaky opener. They're home and home with Milwaukee. They got the better of it with 2 wins in 2 games. You see Milwaukee, they went from the number 1 spot in the Central. They tumbled all the way down to number 6, just above Rockford, who might as well plant their flag in that bottom spot because they don't ever seem to really move from there. To round out, you got Manitoba and 3rd. Underneath them, you got Texas and then Grand Rapids to follow it out, and then obviously Admirals and Ice Hogs. So, it's early, but I think you're kind of starting to see things take shape here in the Central. Anything can happen, but you're starting not to already see those teams where you expect them up top or at the bottom.
Well, in the Pacific, for the most part, it's kind of the same as last week. There's just been some minor shuffling. But the big mover right now is the San Jose Barracuda. They actually improved from 8th out of 9 teams, jumped all the way up to number 4. Now, solidly in the last 2 spots. We already talked about the Colorado Eagles, who are 0-3-0-1, good for a .125 points percentage. But we should have been, I guess, ragging on the San Diego Gulls more so than the Colorado Eagles, because they are 0-3 in 3 games, 0 on the points percentage. But your top 3 is going to be Ontario Reign, 4-0, 0-1, good for a .9 points percentage. And then you have Stockton coming in at .875 and Abbotsford Canucks at .7. Now, the big thing to keep in mind with these standings is it's not necessarily going to go by wins and losses. It's all going to go by points percentage, because this is the last season, I believe, that these teams are all kind of playing different number of games. So points percentage are fully determining the seedings and the placement this season.
This isn't the bonus round, but we've got 3 teams that are winless right now. Which team do you think is the last team to win this year? Kind of like talking about the San Diego Gulls and talking about the Colorado Eagles also in that equation. The Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Which team is going to be the last one to get a W?
I'm going to go San Diego. You just look at some of these other teams. They're, the Eagles, they've given up a lot of goals, but they've scored some goals. I assume one of the games that they might at some point score more than the other team. And Lehigh Valley, I figure, has a little too much. This is a team I think a lot of people pick finish towards the top of their division. So the fact that they haven't even gotten a win yet, but San Diego, my Lord, 5 goals for in 3 games, 16 goals against.
It's tough.
Oh, I get you're in San Diego and it's beautiful. You get to go to the beach and then you get to go to practice. Right. But, they lost Trevor Zegras and Andrew Podorowski, and their offense is going to hurt, but 5 goals? Come on, man.
It's tough. As I asked that question, knowing we record on a Tuesday, Colorado and Lehigh Valley both play on Wednesday, so they're both going to win. So it's got to be San Diego now that I've asked the question, and they'll just make me look silly when this releases on Thursday. But
I am going to go actually with Lehigh Valley. They only have 4 goals for in 4 games. And I mean, the goals against isn't as bad. That's 9, but they also have the highest number of penalty minutes out of the 3. And if I can't remember which players are out injured, but I know they have two that I saw a lot of Lehigh Valley fans talking about on social media that are big long-term losses. So I think out of those three, it just seems like a pretty anemic offense there for Lehigh Valley. I'll say them.
Fair enough. It'll be the Eagles now that none of us said the Eagles.
Right. That's the way it always works. Well, now that we've done enough looking behind, let's go ahead and look ahead and get to our games of the week. Now, Andrew.
All right.
Don't pick any Wednesday games.
I specifically put the note on here for that. Right, yeah, okay. So nothing that you guys have already seen yesterday. But for the Atlantic, I got Saturday night's game, the Cleveland Monsters at the Hershey Bears. Now, anyone who's been watching for these past 3 weeks, I do love me some Hershey Bears. And as of tonight, I don't know how it's going to look after Wednesday night, but as of tonight on Tuesday, they own the AHL's top penalty kill unit. They've only given up one power play goal against in 18 opportunities. And as I've said before, defense wins championships. The Monsters are a team, they score in bunches. And I think it's going to be a good benchmark for both squads going out of their division to see where they stack up against other teams and that, well, I guess aren't in their division. Yeah, I worded that one real well. Also, this is going to be Cleveland's first game without Gavin Bayreuther, who's serving a suspension for a cross-check, I believe it was, against the Belleville Senators. So I want to see how this affects Cleveland's game.
Fun fact, I think it was like 2 hours after that suspension got handed down, he got called up to Columbus because they have a defenseman that's going to be out. What was it? 6 to 8 weeks with a fractured wrist.
Ooh.
Dean Kukin. So as far as I know, he will actually end up serving that whenever he gets back. But yes, they will be without him regardless. But just fun fact for full disclosure. I'm going to go ahead and take the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins against the Springfield Thunderbirds. Now, Springfield, like we discussed already, 4-0-1. They are the last undefeated team in regulation in the Atlantic. Do they escape the weekend with that intact? Who knows?
We'll see. Tune in and find out.
Yeah, you just might. And I'm gonna keep it a little spooky. So we've got Halloween weekend coming up. There is no state better than Massachusetts to talk about the holiday of Halloween. We've got the Salem Witch Trial, the candle.
What was the candle?
Sorry, that was meant to be so distracting.
Oh my gosh!
It's my St. Breeze's candle.
Oh my God.
That is the best thing I have seen in a long time.
That, my friends, is why you check us out on the Field Pass Hockey YouTube page as well, because that is good content. I'm going to say, another Springfield matchup, but this time against Charlotte. I actually don't know if this game is in Massachusetts, so that might not be as funny as I thought it was. But nevertheless, Springfield looks really good. And maybe, just maybe, they keep it under 17 penalty minutes this weekend per game. Maybe they do. We'll have to watch and find out.
Good. So as we turn over to the north here, I got Friday night's matchup with Lehigh Valley going on the road against Utica. And I just want to ask if anyone can answer, what's going on in Lehigh Valley? I mean, 0-3-1 to start off. As I said before, a lot of people picked them to win the division, and they got 4 goals in their 4 games. I mean, just not really what you wanted to see from your contending favorite team there. And they're going up against a red hot Comet squad that has played 3 games and has won all 3 of them. And they're not really keen on giving up a whole lot of goals either. So I want to see if the Phantoms can rebound here, because I think you're going to start off on the wrong foot, just trudging through some of these games. It's going to make it tough later in the year to come back from that hole.
Well, I'm going to go Rochester and Laval on Saturday night. As the time we're recording this, Rochester, like Jeremy said, they're third in the North. Laval is fourth. There's only 0.067 points away in win percentage. So yeah, it should be a very tightly contested game. And yeah, that's my pick. Not much more to say.
Well, I'm going to go to an early season rematch of a previous series that we saw, the Monsters and the Crunch playing on Friday. Again, as we talked about, the Crunch they're hurt, and so going into that game, it'll be interesting to see if these two teams have figured each other out offensively, or if we're in for another high scoring affair. As those two teams take the ice this weekend.
All right, turning over into the Central, I got Sunday afternoon's game, I should say, featuring the Chicago Wolves going into Grand Rapids to take on the Griffins. This is going to be the second game of the week. They will have played on Wednesday night. Don't really know yet. I'm here recording on Tuesday, but it's going to be a Halloween matchup, so you're going to be able to get in on some divisional action before we get trick-or-treating going. So for Grand Rapids, it's been just a brutal stretch on the road. They opened up at home with the win against Rockford, followed that up by losing to Milwaukee, and then going north of the border to Manitoba and dropping 2 straight there. So as they come in with a very talented Chicago team that's kind of started to find its groove in the Milwaukee series, I just want to ask Grand Rapids, can you give Joe Veleno some help? I get that the whole idea is to have him come down and be this dominant elite player, but you can't be the only guy. And it's fun to watch the Joe Veleno show, but he's only one guy. You got to get some help.
Well, I'm going to keep on the Chicago train here. Chicago and Milwaukee Friday night is my pick. As we talked earlier, these teams have already seen each other twice this season. But which version of the teams are we going to get? Are we going to get the Chicago-Milwaukee that was that, tight 3-2 with that, end of the game thriller? Or are we going to get the Chicago team that comes out and just destroys Milwaukee 6-1? It should just be a nice, well-fought match. I'm looking for the Admirals to get a little bit of revenge here as we close out the month.
Yeah, and Deana kept it on the Chicago train as folks who might be listening from the Chicago area, around the area. It's called the L. And speaking of L's, I'm going to talk about Texas and Colorado. And in part, I picked this game just to be difficult because last week, Andrew picking a Wednesday game. Well, I'm going to pick a Tuesday game. It's just going to be a Tuesday game before the Thursday of our next episode. So this one's still in the interval, folks. But again, partially be difficult. First game of November in the AHL. Have yourself a day, and watch the Texas Stars play the Colorado Eagles.
I'm glad I waited just a second to take a sip of my water there.
Hey, I'm good for a laugh track.
Yep.
So as we roll into the Pacific, I got another Friday night one. Ontario going into Abbotsford, and man, I just gotta say it. Like Deana alluded to earlier, it is fun to watch TJ Tynan. It seems that everywhere he goes, he just produces, and he's just a natural winner. Ontario, they only got 1 loss this season, and it's to Abbotsford at home. So now as they hit the road in British Columbia, they got a chance for a little bit of revenge against the Canucks as they look to continue their hot streak going in to start up the season here.
Well, I'm a fan of overtime. Whenever they're not cycling in the neutral zone, whenever it's true, fast-paced 3-on-3 hockey, I love it. For people like me, I'm going to second Andrew's pick. These two teams have already gone into overtime and a shootout in their last 2 games. So it'll just be who gets the edge on the season series. And I'm going to place bets on TJ Tynan racking up a few points here just because I like him.
Hey, fair enough. You're both high on the Ontario Reign. What can I say? You know what I said earlier, Pacific Division champs. But if we're gonna talk about a team that could possibly, challenge the Reign, aside from Abbotsford, Stockton has looked really good at the start of the season too. And so keeping it spooky, keeping it Halloween, San Jose and Stockton. San Jose, as we also mentioned, talking about the quest for the Holy Grail, had a really good weekend. Is starting to climb up a little bit. So who can say no to Halloween hockey, and who can say no to these two teams? So that's what I'm rolling with.
All right.
Do you know what else is spooky? Speaking of Ontario, Martin Firk's mustache. That one goes out to our Ontario Reign rider, Jay Forrester.
You know what else is spooky? A last name without consonant or without vowels, excuse me.
Yeah, that too. My spell check hates it and always wants to autocorrect it to Frank.
Sure.
And do you know what else is spooky sometimes? How fast these young kids grow. And boy, they grow up so fast.
Ooh, they grow up so fast. So for us Wolves fan up here, we got a couple of familiar faces that made their debuts this past week. As we alluded to in last week's episode, Tommy Novak coming up and already producing for Nashville. On the 23rd at Winnipeg, he had not just his first point, he had a 3-assist game. Already on the power play, already looking good, and already being depended upon with another former Wolf, Phil Tomasino. And again, when you're talking about they grow up so fast, it was in this calendar year that these two guys led the Chicago Wolves in scoring, and now here they are in a power play unit in the show and looking good doing it. And another one who made his debut the very next night was former Wolves goalie Connor Ingram. Made his very first start against Minnesota and won it. And this one is an exceptional story. Connor had to take some time away back in January, just fighting some personal issues, and he enrolled in the player assistance program just to kind of take some time to himself and just and collect himself, fighting his own personal battles. And to see him go through that program, to come away on top, spend some time with the Wolves, and just keep working and stay dedicated to now get this shot in Nashville to produce and to get a win in his first game. My hat's off to you, Connor. You're an inspiration to more people than you know, I'm sure.
I don't even know how to follow that up because exactly, just much respect goes to him for first acknowledging that he needed help, seeking the help, and then coming back so strong. That's just amazing. But now I do have a player for this segment. Now, this player didn't exactly grow up fast, but I think his perseverance and dedication to the game does deserve a special mention. Dyson Mayo, he's a veteran of 208 AHL games. All but 5 of them have been, again, with Tucson. But he finally got a crack with the Arizona Coyotes. 1 game in, he gets his first NHL goal. But congratulations to all 3 players. You grew up so fast on us. Keep growing, keep succeeding. Well, we do have one final bonus round. Now, since Zach could not join us tonight, I think Jeremy's going to do the honors this week. Now, this game is truly going to be just for bragging rights in our group chat because Zach will automatically be our host next week with his Price is Right segment, which I cannot wait for. So, Jeremy, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I got to give a special shout out to Zach for not being on the episode because this might be the only way that I could sneak in to host a bonus round. This might because it's not going to be by winning one of these dang things. So special shout out to Zach for his absence so I could lead this one. And I thought in a week when we're talking about, they grow up so fast, our first real focus on it with a name like Dyson Mayo, like this, we just have to follow up talking about the age of some of these players, right? So today, whenever y'all are listening, you all are going to be guessing between two teams which team has the youngest average roster, or the roster with the youngest average age. So
Okay.
I've got 5 matchups for you, and y'all are going to tell me which of the two is the youngest.
Okay.
All right. So first up, we've got the Cleveland Monsters, and we've got the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins.
You're going to make me look so bad because this is something I don't study, is how old these players are.
In your defense, the intervals on some of these are actually ridiculous, and I'm pretty sick for even asking you to guess.
I know there's quite a few older statesmen, I guess, on Cleveland, so I'm going to go Wilkes-Barre Scranton.
I'm going to cop out because she's the Cleveland writer, so I say that sounds like a good plan. Let's go with the Penguins.
All right. Well, the Penguins have an average age of 24.28, and the Cleveland Monsters have an average age of 24.625. So you both are right. You both have got one in the column.
Nice.
Next, we're going to move on to the Toronto Marlies and the Milwaukee Admirals.
I'm going to go with Toronto on this one. I know I remember Milwaukee, they got a couple they got a couple vets over there on that side. Mitch McLean, Josh Healy. That's gonna kind of boost the numbers up a little bit, I think.
Just so we don't copy every single time, I will go Milwaukee because I see his logic, and I feel like Toronto's younger, but we can't tie, so I'm gonna
Hey, I've got a tiebreaker round planned just in case.
Oh, okay.
Just in case. But this is one that you should have stuck with Andrew, because Andrew's got it. Toronto's got an average age of 24.31 and Milwaukee's 24.79. So this next one, we're getting a little outside of our comfort zone. None of us are as familiar, I should say, with either of these two squads, being that we don't cover the division, but we've got San Diego and Abbotsford.
I've already been piling on San Diego early on in this episode, so I'm going to go ahead and say they're older just because.
Yeah, I was going to pick Abbotsford for being younger.
All right, so yep, you both are on it. You both are on it. Maybe there's something to that, right? San Diego's got an average age of, and I will say, without giving too much away, the oldest of the 10 teams that are a part of this conversation with an average age of 25.26, and then our new friends in Abbotsford an average age of 24.185. So. We've got Andrew. You're batting 1,000 here, Andrew. Like I'm getting a little nervous that you're going to just sweep them all.
I don't know what to say. All I do is win.
All right, got money on his mind. No.
All right, wait, no. My next bonus round is karaoke. Okay, so we've got the Silver Knights and the Crunch.
I'm going to go Silver Knights because the Crunch they've got some long-term people on that team.
Yeah, Henderson lost Ryan Murphy. I know they got Peyton Krebs. He's a young buck, but just for the sake of going against the grain, I'll say Syracuse is younger.
All right, so Syracuse coming in with an average age of 23.259, and the Silver Knights with an average age of 23.535. So Syracuse
Oh wow.
takes away. They've got a.
I am shocked.
Yeah, they've got quite a few 21, 22, 20, 21, 22-year-olds. And to your point, Deana, yes, there are definitely some vets on this roster. So yeah, it's definitely probably the widest margin of the data set, but because there's so many there at the back end.
Congratulations, Andrew. Great job.
Wait, yeah, that solidified it. But just one more for kicks and gigs, and I want to throw Andrew a bone here too. One of the teams that he covers, with the team that I cover, the Rochester Americans and the Grand Rapids Griffins.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I know Grand Rapids they got Chase Pearson, Joe Valeno, Karel Tutayev, Jonathan Berggren. They got a bunch of guys who are just able to hit up Founders Brewery down there in Grand Rapids. But I know Rochester, they got JJ, they got Jack Quinn. They're not necessarily they're not necessarily vets anyway. I'll stick with the hometown squad. I'll go Grand Rapids.
I'll go Rochester.
All right. So Deana gets one over on Andrew here. The Amerks average age is 24.958, and the Griffins are at 25.17. So slight edge there to the Amerks. The bonus question was, how old is the oldest player in this data set? Just for fun.
Out of those teams.
Okay.
Just out of those teams, right?
Yes. And I will say that I'm the worst. I should just say, what is the age of the oldest player? Because I did not write the names that coincided with the age.
Man. Luke Witkowski's got to be 31, right?
I had 32 in my head. I'll go 32.
All right. So let me make sure that I can give
Which
this
makes
player
me
a
feel
shout out.
ancient.
Let me make sure I can give this player a shout out too. But the Toronto Marlies in my data set have a 34-year-old.
Who's that?
You're asking so many good questions that I really should have prepared for, right? But I will tell you, it is their captain, Rich Clune. Clune?
Yeah.
That's the name that's gonna. Yeah, he's 34 years old.
Huh.
I can't believe that I nailed
34.
that Luke Witkowski's actually 31 years old.
It was impressive.
That was a total shot in the dark on that one. I was like, well, he's got to be older than me, right?
Again, I'm feeling ancient here, but it's okay.
Never.
All right. Well, congratulations, my friend Andrew. Great job. I got to figure out which direction you are. Good job. Jeremy, great job with kind of making that up at the last minute. That was good.
I appreciate it. It was fun to do. Shout out Zach.
Our missing cohort. He will be back next week, hopefully. So, but yep, that's going to be it for the Holy Grail this week. If you like us, please subscribe, share, rate this podcast, and tell all your friends. If you really like us, be sure to give us all a follow over on Twitter, and be sure to check out all of the other Field Pass Hockey podcasts, including Inside the SPHL with James Hayes, the 3 Periods podcast with Matt Harding and Matthew Will, which gives you all the information you need to know about the ECHL. And we have 2 team-based podcasts here in the A with Syracuse Speaks with Alex Ackerman and Monsters Musings with Andrew Guarino, myself, and Jay Forster. But until next week, I hope you get a good haul of some trick-or-treat candy, and we'll catch you next time.
Happy Halloween, y'all.
Bye, everyone.
This has been the Holy GrAHL Podcast. Have a question or a topic suggestion? Hit us up on Twitter or drop us an email. For the latest news across the American Hockey League and the rest of minor league hockey, download the Field Pass Hockey app, now available in the Apple and Android app stores.